We went from 19 school bus routes down to 1 in under a year.
We were left with a lot of buses and no kids to transport because we had no contract.
One of the hardest things was to tell our drivers and our technician family that everything was gone.
Like seriously, nobody wants to be sitting where we are. You don't want to be, because it's not fun. It sucks.
Every day in Ontario, more than 18,000 school buses transport over 800,000 children to and from school in safety. Starting in 2009, a new process for allocating school bus contracts was imposed by the Ontario government, based on the request for proposal model.
It's a process where the government puts up business for bid and people interested in getting that business bid on it.
The consequences of this process for smaller community-based operators were devastating.
The whole request for proposal process in government is very, very difficult for small firms in general to deal with.
As you can see now, it's pretty much empty. We had a month to prepare ourselves, not even knowing what a request for proposal entailed.
Like I had to kind of just sit there for a few minutes, and then I said, we didn't win.
It didn't matter how well we did, it was all about price.
And then all of a sudden you have 50 years of school busing that's no longer around.
As a small business, if you lose one contract, you're right out of business. So you don't get to stick around and learn how to do it. You don't get to perfect how to do an RFP.
The only thing that's going to be different on these proposals is that bottom line price. If I don't get that price right, I'm gone forever.
It's an ill-conceived process and we are an unintended consequence, sadly.
It's not an economic issue in this case. It was a political decision to go a certain way with their procurement, their RFP process, and so on, that benefited the larger players to the detriment of the smaller players.
The school bus over the years has been spec'd so that it is only for transporting children. So if you don't have a contract to use that vehicle for home-to-school transportation, you're pretty much out of business.
You know, there is something worse than losing the bus routes we believed, and that was not being able to operate them with integrity because you've dropped your price so low that you can't maintain a safety standard, you can't keep your drivers, and you can't maintain your buses and equipment.
As with any industry, if you start to base everything on price, something has to go.
RFPs certainly work for some industries, but in this case, these RFPs were a solution looking for a problem, and they just got dropped on top of this unique industry.
We're unique in the sense that we exist by and for school boards.
It's virtually impossible for a school bus operator to do something else with their school buses.
We can't pick up our business and go someplace else. I can't transport anybody else.
A report commissioned by the Ministry of Education in 2011 warned that the RFP process, if allowed to proceed, would have a negative impact on the industry.
There's going to be a monopoly, and it doesn't matter what they say at Queen's Park, there will be a monopoly.
Despite early government assurances that any reform would be fair to players of all sizes, almost 30 small operators were put out of business as a direct result of the new RFP process.
It was a very biased process. Kathleen Wynne effectively said she would not affect the industry in a negative way, and that's precisely what she did. She should be held to account for that.
They keep saying, oh no, we're trying to be fair to everyone, but they're not being fair to everyone because it's not a process that a small or medium-sized operator can compete in or win in.
This is more than just a question about school busing. It's about whether or not we value rural Ontario at all.
Of course the policy can be changed. We just have a government that's unwilling to do it.
Having no other recourse, small bus operators began legal action to stop the RFP implementation in Ontario. With 5 separate court cases pending, the future of rural, family-run school busing hangs in the balance.
The only way that we could sit down and have a conversation with these people and have them listen was to take it to the courts.
The courts have already ruled in their favor 5 times. Every judge that's taken a look at this has not liked what they've seen.
We're not asking for preferential treatment, we're asking for fair treatment.
The best case scenario would be if the government put a complete halt on RFPs.
We need the community to know about what's happening, to talk to your trustees, to empower your trustees to ask the right questions.
It's just wrong. It's just wrong that they can just like kick your feet out from under you and say, see you later.
My hope is that no other family has to walk down this road.
We're fighting for our life here, and we're going to continue the fight.
We're hopeful that the government is going to come to its senses. We know that the MPPs want a solution.
There should be a place for every size business in Ontario.
The big multinational people as well as the 1 and 2 bus operators, everybody has something great to bring to the table.
What there isn't room for is something that wipes a family business out overnight just because they might have bid $1 too high.